Welcome back, everyone, to the 2023 SMPS Northeast Regional Conference podcast. Today, we are here speaking with Heather Polivka, the CEO of HeatherP Solutions, Inc., and one of our amazing speakers at this year's conference. Heather's session is titled A Culture Workshop, Doing the Work That Most Companies Skip. Welcome, Heather. We're so excited to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so excited to be speaking at the Northeastern Regional Conference too.
Yes, it's going to be a great conference, and we're really looking forward to your session. It's a great topic that I'm excited to learn more about. So culture is becoming, and maybe already has become, a driving force with the AEC when it comes to marketing moving from firm to firm. And it's not just the marketers, but also the technical staff. Heather, what is some insight that you can share about this?
Yeah, so there's two insights I would share. The first is that, AEC is a technical space, technical industry, and many technical industries, I would add in technology, med device, finance and accounting and banking, have prioritized technical skills in terms of elevating people into leadership over necessarily people leadership skills. I see time and time again in AEC firms that, there's strong sort of operational and organizational aspects to their culture, but the alignment and the sense of belonging is where there tend to be the bigger gaps because of that prioritization on technical skills.
Right.
So that would be the first that I would call out. And second is, on an even bigger macro basis, is a major generational shift that's happening in the United States. I mean, millennials, which are 26 to 40 years old, they're the largest generation ever in the US. And as they've grown up, they've watched the Gen Xers and the boomers give up vacations for work, take calls from the kids' soccer games, take the laptop on vacation, and demonstrate this level of loyalty that, quite frankly, they've not seen returned by companies. And so millennials very much have an approach of they see it almost as lower risk to go out on their own versus work for companies. And so if I'm a millennial and I'm going to join a company, my expectations of leadership and culture are much greater than previous generations. And I'm not going to buy in the way that Gen X and boomers did. And so if you can't offer me great leadership and a healthy work culture, I'm just going to go over here because I've learned that loyalty is maybe a bit of a fallacy.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree. I'm seeing that now at where I work. So thank you. So would you say then, so I was going to ask when you thought culture when you thought culture has become so important in the workplace. So you kind of said that with your answer before, but.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, COVID had everyone rethink. What am I doing? Why am I doing it? And am I willing to put up with and tolerate maybe some of the things that I was putting up with and tolerating pre-pandemic? So I think that was a shift really for everyone, including a lot of Gen Xers and baby boomers. But it's also now it's seeing this emergence where the bulk of the workforce now is millennials, followed by Gen Z, 25 and under. And so the mass numbers are now there to say, hey, yeah, we're not quite buying what the previous generations were selling. And so that's kind of I think it's a double catalyst that macro and also just the numbers are there to start demanding healthier work environments.
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine the culture at your firm and mine aren't the same. There may be similarities and differences, but what are some signs that you think are signs of a good work culture?
Ooh, that's good. Because there's not a one size fits all. And I know that can be kind of a lame answer, but
no, not at all.
culture is how we work to fulfill on our business strategy. And
Hmm.
so, one person's good culture is another person's, not so much. I mean, there are definitely certain behaviors. The big thing I point to is the company and its leaders walking their talk. So if I put forth, certain values on my website and I
Hmm.
say this is who I am and what I stand for, um, is that the lived experience of the people inside the firm? Is that the experience of clients who work with us? Is that what the online reviews are saying about working in our environment? I just think it's important to walk the talk. And certainly there are toxic behaviors.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't think it's the toxic behaviors in and of themselves. I think it's that people join a firm and they think, I'm going to find inclusion and belonging.
Yeah.
And then they get there and like, not so much. Inclusion and belonging means as long as you talk like us, think like us, and even look like us, then yes, we include and you can be included in belonging. So I think it's more the gap between how companies represent themselves and what the experience is that is the bigger problem for workers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that was a great answer for such a hard question, you know. Oh my goodness. Yes.
And one other thing is, given I'm talking about walking the talk, there's so many leaders who actually don't know what culture is. And it's their biggest accountability. And that's why I call, my workshop doing the work that most companies skip, because most leaders don't actually understand what culture is,
Hmm.
and yet they're supposed to lead it. And most companies actually haven't defined their culture in a way that they can meaningfully communicate both to clients and to, current and future employees.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know there'll be lots of leaders in attendance at our conference this year. So I'm hoping, a lot of them attend your session. So
Me
they
too.
can have a better understanding. Yes, absolutely. Um, I'm so excited for your session just after these few questions that you're able to answer. But what do you think our attendees can expect to take away and apply in their daily work life after attending your session?
Well, at the very least, they're going to have a working definition and understanding of what culture is. We go through 10 dimensions of culture organized into 3 different zones.
Hmm.
So there's an alignment zone, which as marketers, we're going to be more familiar with the mission and the values part of it. But alignment also includes what behaviors do we reward, what behaviors do we punish, and maybe
Hmm.
what things are we tolerating that we shouldn't. And
Hmm.
it also has to do with what do we prioritize. Like in many AEC firms, we may look at it and go, is it giving clients what they want or what they need? Which do we prioritize in our firm? What about client satisfaction versus employee well-being? It's those kinds of overall priorities that help shape a culture. So that's all in alignment. The second zone is the emotional aspects of culture, which includes psychological safety. Like, how free do we feel to raise concerns along with solutions, to bring ideas that seem maybe a little out there to the table? Really important for driving innovation, and especially in AEC industry. How do we help people learn and grow? And what are some of the things that we do that create a sense of stickiness in an organization? Some of the fun little rituals or celebrations that we do that has us brag about it at happy hour of my firm does this. And then the last zone is the operational aspects of culture. What are our norms and rules? Norms are always interesting to me because it's the unspoken rules, right? And we
Yeah.
have them in every firm. How do we make decisions and cascade those decisions? And how do we convene and collaborate and share information? So that's more the operational aspects. So attendees of my session will, at very minimum, understand in a very tangible way what culture is and what it looks like. And I think also to start assessing for themselves the fit for themselves, what they may want to seek out or help drive forward within their firms. And as leaders, what I'm accountable for leading.
Thank you, Heather. And for our listeners, oftentimes they may not be the leader, setting the tone for the culture in their company. So why is understanding the culture important to the work that they do?
That's a great question. I love this because first of all, I have a marketer background, so I have a special place near and dear to my heart to SMPS and what they do.
Oh,
And they really are accountable for the RFP process to help win bids for their firm. And I know many have been pulled in trying to attract and retain talent as well as part of that messaging. So being able to communicate about your culture in a way that's meaningful, tangible, and differentiated creates competitive advantage for both acquiring talent and, more importantly, winning those bids. So that's
yeah,
why I think having an understanding of your firm's culture is important for each individual anyways, but very important for the role that members of SMPS play in their firms.
absolutely. Absolutely. Wonderful. Amazing, Heather. Well, I'm confident that our attendees will be able to take that all back with them to their firms and hopefully be able to apply it to the company culture. So thank you, Heather. So to conclude our interview today, we are going to wrap it up with a fun game that we like to call Fast Track, where we'll ask you a few questions within a short period of time just to get to know you a little bit better. Do you have any questions before we begin?
No, but I'm kind of
Okay.
excited and nervous. I feel like I'm living on the edge right now.
Just go with your gut. Just go with
Okay.
your gut.
All right.
Okay. All right. So we're going to start the clock. Ready. Okay, Heather, city life or country life?
City life.
If you were bringing a hot dish to a potluck, what's your go-to?
Oh, hot dish to a potluck. I'm not a big fan of either. You know what? I'm gonna bring I'm gonna call it the Spanish hot dish, paella. It's
Okay.
sort of my specialty. And so that's what I'm gonna bring.
Oh, that sounds delicious. Um, what is a hot dish? For those of our listeners who don't know, can you briefly explain what a hot dish is?
Oh, and depending upon what region of the country you're listening to, it's also
Right?
called a casserole, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I think of it, here's my perception and why I say I'm not a fan of either, because I also going to a lot of church functions, and it's basically combining a lot of ingredients with some sort of Campbell's soup and then adding potato chips on top.
Gotcha, gotcha. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm sure people can get pretty creative with what's in their hot dish.
Yeah.
Okay. Lake in the summer or lake in the winter?
Oh, and this is ironic because I live in Minnesota, but lake in the summer by far.
Are you a big jet skier or a boater?
Yeah, I just love being by water. I find it
Yeah.
really calming and soothing and peaceful. And growing up, I spent my summers up at our family cabin on the lake. So it also is just tied to a lot of great family memories.
Oh, absolutely. I'm myself am a lake girl, so I agree with you. I can relate. So we're going to be in Philadelphia. You're ordering a cheesesteak. What kind of cheese are you putting on your cheesesteak? Whiz, American, or provolone?
Provolone.
Ooh, good answer.
Okay, good, because I didn't
Good
know that
answer.
you actually choose your cheese on a cheesesteak.
Yes,
So I'm
yes,
gonna admit to lack of knowledge on this one.
yes. And some of the cheesesteak places, if you don't know what cheese you're going to order, they'll tell you to go to the back of the line.
Really? Okay, thank you
Oh,
for
yeah.
prepping
So
me.
be
I'm
prepared. Everyone listening, know what cheese you're going to put on your cheesesteak. All right, last question. What do you think is something that the world needs right now? And take your time
Grace.
to answer this if you'd
No,
like.
grace. We need grace for ourselves, grace for one another, grace for our humanity. I feel like with so many demands in the world and expectations and all of that,
Yeah.
remembering that we are human beings. And yeah, I would say grace.
I love that answer. I love it. Thank you so much, Heather. I've had a lot of fun speaking with you today. Really looking forward to your session, and I'm sure our listeners are as well. Heather's presentation, a culture workshop, doing the work that most companies skip, is Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock. Make sure you don't miss our session to help better understand what culture is and take back tips with you to share with your company. You can also visit our website, smpsnerc.com, to see our schedule of events, register for the conference, and learn more about sponsorship opportunities. Thank you to our in-kind sponsor, Fuse, for producing this podcast series, and to all of our other sponsors. Thank you for listening. Bye.